Morning, we're learning as Chusr for Shlema Vichat Chaya Basarach. We're on Ayin Zayin on the base by the Mishnah. Gotta go a couple pages ahead from last night. Trying to catch up. We're still a Amid behind. Zak the Mishnah. Mikol Ma'yanaitel Echad Me'asara Truma. The carbon taida is brought as essentially the same avodah as the shlamim, and you also bring along with it 40 chalis, 10 each of one is chametz, and the other three are matzahs, non-chametz. And these 40 chalas, you take one out of, they're eaten, unlike a mincha, they're eaten by the bailim. And one out of the 10 of each one of those goes as a truma to the kain. So the carbon taida, the chalas of a carbon taida, we always talk about minchas. The mincha either gets all fully burnt or it goes to the kain. The taida goes to the bailim. The bailim eats the taida, but there's a truma that you take off of it. From each one of those different types of chalis that you bring the taida, you take one out of 10 as a truma. You take from each one of them one as a truma lashem. Echad shalayit paras, when we darshan the pasuk, the Mishnah itself darshans the pasuk. Echad shalayit paras, it says one to tell you that you can't give a portion of a challah as the truma to the kain. It has to be a full challah. Mikol carbon, the pasuk continues, from the entire carbon. Shiu kol hakarbonos shaves. Shritu b'karbon al chaveret. That tells you all the different chales have to be the same size, or that each one of the four kinds have to have the same amount of each, and you can't take from one on the other. That means they're all the same, and you take 1/10, and it comes out to the same amount. I think the Rashi says you kol hakabana shavas kol haminon. Each one of the four types, you shove an eser chalas. So you each have 10 chalas, and that's how they all come out equal. L'koyin hazorik as dam hashlamim lo yiyah. The pasuk says to the koyin that was zorik the dam of the carbon, he gets this 1 out of 10 chalas. V'ashar nechal l'baylam, and the rest is eaten by the owners. Zek Gemara, Pan Rabban. The Torah says this is the pasuk of this carbon truma. Vikri menu echad mikol carbon truma l'Hashem l'koyin hazorik as dam hashlamim lo yiyah. The pasuk that we just quoted, the hikri many should be makar from it. Minam chuber. It has to be all together. You have to take all the chalas together, and you take them when they're together. You take the truma to the kain. Echad. We say the pasuk says hikri menu echad shelo yitel paras. Like the Mishnah said, it should be complete. It shouldn't be a portion of a challah. Mikol carbon. You call carbon is shabbos, like the Mishnah said. It says from each carbon that each carbon should be equal. Shalayitul min carbon al chaveri shalayitul min carbon al chaveri. You shouldn't take from one carbon on the other. You shouldn't take from one type. Let's say from the revuchas, you shouldn't take to the chalis or the matzahs, and so on and so forth. They all have to be equal. That you're taking one challah, so they all have to be the same size. If they were different sizes, then you have to take 1/10. It would come out, let's say each one of the chales was let's say the chales were 2 esroinim each, and the matzahs were, I shouldn't say revuchas and the chales, but the matzahs. The revuchas were 2 esroinim each, and the matzahs were half an isaron each. Then it would come out that you're taking from the revuchas on the matzahs. So that's why the Torah tells you they have to all be equal. Lashem, Truma Lashem, Truma Lashem, any idea mikama he. It says Truma Lashem. I wouldn't know how much, what percentage is it supposed to be, right? It just says you take a truma. How much is a truma? Truma could be any amount. Maybe it means 1 out of Well, it means like we'll see 1 out of 24, like you do by a challah, or like an actual what do you call it? Maybe it's 1 out of 100. So how much is it? Harini done nemer kan truma. It says here by toida truma, but nemer b'trumas meiser truma. Right? When you separate meiser from a carbon and you give it, you take truma from a carbon, you give it to the Levi, and then you take trumas meiser. You take 1/10 of that and you give it to the kayin. So it says since it uses a lashon truma by trumas meiser, and it says truma by toida malal echad me'asara avkan echad me'asara. Just like by trumas meiser it's a 10th, so too here it's a 10th. Like klach derech zug, where it says maybe you should learn it differently. Nema kan truma, but nema bebikurim truma. It says by the bikurim, by the first fruit, you should take truma. Malanein loshir, avkanin loshir. Maybe you could take any amount you want, just like by bikurim. Nearly midam. So what is taida more like? Is it more like bikurim, or is it more like trumas meiser? Done in truma she'en acharei truma, mi truma she'en acharei truma. Maybe I should learn from trumas meiser, because trumas meiser. Once you take the trumas meiser, there's no more meiser to be taken from it. You've completed the matnas kahuna from it. While bikurim, you take bikurim, but then you still have on the rest of your tour that you have to still take off trumas and meisers. So it's a way of saying that bikurim is different, very different than the other matnas. That it's like a initiation get, right? You take truma at the beginning of the crop, but it's not from the entire crop. It's intended just to be in the first thing that you bring. So that would explain why it's any amount. Done truma nechaz b'makom kadosh. Truma nechaz b'makom kadosh. Bikurim is eaten in Yerushalayim, and the taidas are also only eaten in Yerushalayim. Kachum kalam can be eaten anywhere in Yerushalayim. There's no rule about where it's eaten; it's just given to a kain. It uses it's not just the word truma in trumas meiser and taida, but it's also mimenu truma. So it's not just the binyan av that it says that we talk about truma in one place, we talk about truma in the other. Until now we thought we were talking about as a binyan av. Now we're saying no, it's gzeir shava, mimenu truma. So we learn now taida from trumas meiser that it's 1/10. I'm sorry, any idea mikama he chala. I still wouldn't know how much each challah should be, how many yisroinim of silas should be per challah. Harini done nemakan lechem and nemalam b'shtei lechem. It says a lashon lechem by the Torah, and it says by shtei lechem the word lechem. Malalon isaron lechallah. Just like by the shtei lechem, you have 2 yisroinim, and it's 2 lecha, two loaves. So each loaf is an isaron. Avkan isaron lechallah. So too over here by the Torah it should be an isaron for each challah. We're going to see that we're talking about now about the chametz, the 10 loaves that are brought as chametz. So we're going to have one isaron per chalas. That's going to be 10 isroinim for 10 chalas. Maybe instead of comparing to the lechem of the shtei lechem, let's compare to the lechem aponim. Alon shei isroinim, by the lechem aponim, you have 24 isroinim for 12 chalas. Avkan shnei isroinis. Maybe you should have 2 isroinis for each one of the chalas matzahs of the taida. Nearly midayim. So which do we compare for? Is the taida more comparable to lechem aponim or to the shtei lechem? Maybe you should compare it to shtei lechem, which is chametz, and we're talking over here about the chametz part of the taida. And it's the shtei lechem goes together with the kivsei atzeres, and the taida goes together with its carbon, with the shlamim. It doesn't. The lechem aponim is not chametz; it's matzah, which is always a little bit of it was surprising to me, right? Because we called it the lechem aponim, and our lechem on Shabbos, we think about the lechem aponim, but it's not lechem, it's matzah. and it's brought in a zevach. The Torah is with the zevach, and the lechem is not. The klach derzu done a mincha above me'eretz chutz la'aretz min ha'chadash or min ha'yashin. Maybe I should talk about the mincha, the lechem upon him, the Torah, which can be brought. It doesn't have to be brought b'dafka. The Torah doesn't have to be brought from Eretz Yisrael, and it doesn't have to come from chadash or from yashan. Mincha above me'eretz chutz la'aretz min ha'chadash min ha'yashin. Eicha shtei lechem she'en bois elam min ha'chadash. The shtei lechem is only brought from chadash and min ha'aretz, and only brought from Eretz Yisrael. So maybe the Torah in that sense should be compared to lechem upon him. Tamad lo mimoshe seichem taviu lechem tnufa shtayim. The Torah says taviu she'ein tamad lo taviu. Why does the Torah have to say taviu? Seichem taviu. You should bring. Well, of course you have to bring it. Umat tamad lo taviu shechol mashata maybe mimalkam acher hareyu kazeh. Ma'alon yisar l'chal avkan yisar l'chal. This is by the shtei halechem, that it says you should bring the shtei lechem from your houses. So it says just like whatever you bring for this, so also too the taida, the chalas that you bring for the taida should be just like this, and isarim for each challah. 10 esroinim for the 10 chalas of chametz in the taida. Imala lo and shnei esroinim afkan shnei esroinis. Maybe what? No, maybe that's not the correct way to learn it. The shtei halechem is made up of 2 chalas, and it's a total of 2 esroinim. Maybe instead of darshaning from there, they're just like it's 1 isarim per chala. So to by Torah should be 1 isarim chala for a total of 10 esroinim. Maybe it's saying the total you should learn out from there. The total over there is 2 esroinim for the 2 chalas. So maybe it's telling you that the 10 chalas of the Torah, the 10 chametz chalas of the Torah should also be 2 esroinim. We learn from the word tiyana, which the Gemara is going to explain later on. It comes from the 2 yuds. The yud is a reference to 10. So it's saying tiyana that it should be 10, not 10 esroinim, not 2 esroinim. So Gemara, lamandu asara lachametz asara lamatzah minayin. That was only for the 10 esroinim that you have for the 10 chalas of the Torah that are chametz. What about the 10 esroinim for the 30 chalas of matzah, meaning the non-chametz portion of the Torah? Minayin. How do you know there's 10 esroinim for that? Talmud Loimer, achalis lechem matzah. The Torah says, al chalis lechem chametz Yaakov kamane al zevach Torah shlama. On the chalis of lechem chametz, neged chametz hava matzah. We're comparing the matzah to the chametz. That just like the chametz we said should be 10 esroinim, the matzah should also be 10 esroinim. Nimtzu esrim esroinis lachmei toida. So it turns out you have a total of 20 esroinim for the lachmei toida, asara l'chametz, asara l'matzah. We had a different drasha for the chametz and for the matzah. We learned out the matzah from a combination of the zera shava together with the tiyana minosh veseichem, and from tiyana, and we also learned out the matzah from the chametz. So tomorrow yachol asar matzah yu kulan ela mimin echad. Where it says maybe when we say that you have to have 10 esroinim of matzah of flour that's divided up amongst the 30 chalas of the non-chametz portion of the Torah. How do we know it means that you do the revucha and the rekikin and the chalas? Maybe it means you pick one of those 3, and that's what you bring. You only bring, the Torah is giving you options. You bring one of these 3 as the matzah portion, but it doesn't mean you bring 30. The pasuk says it very clearly. If you're bringing together with the Torah, together with the carbon of the Torah, chalis matzahs, you bring chalis matzahs, belulas b'shemen, you bring mixed with oil, rukike matzahs, meshuchim b'shemen, and flat matzahs that have oil smear on them, salas murvachas, and you have salas murvachas. So from the fact that the Torah said this is in Pasuk Yud Beis, Yeah, and the pasuk is telling you, so the Torah is telling you have to do all of them. The Torah is spelling out that you have to do all three of them. Nimtzu shloisha esroinim ushlosh l'chol min umin. So it comes out that you have 10 esroinim for all 30 for all three types. So that leaves you 3 1/3 of of an isaron, 3 1/3 esroinim, or which is 3 1/3 of a ephah for each type. Ushalosh chalas lisaron, and you have, so that comes out to 3 chalas per isaron. Nimtzu lachmei toida aboyim min ha sorry. Nimtzu lachmei toida aboyim. So the total amount of lachmei toida, the chametz together with the matzah is 40. You take you take 4 out of them, from 1 out of 10 from all the 40. You give it to the kohen. The rest is eaten by Levium. That's the end of the brisa, as well as the end of our mission. Amar Mar, behikr v'mimenu min ha'mechuber. This is what we started the brisa with, right? That's what the Gemara said. The Gemara brought the brisa. You take from what's attached. It means it has to be from all of the loaves together. So Gemara when it says mimenu, it means mechuber. That's kol choba yar mimenu. When it talks about taking the chalev of a carbon and burning it as a murim on the mizbeach, hasam mai mechuber. What does it mean how would we call that mechuber? If mimenu means mechuber, it says mimenu, that means there also has to be some mechuber by the murim. So Gemara ravimi shall yinatach basar koydem sheyitel murim. It says mimenu to tell you that you have to take the emurim from the entire carbon. You don't cut apart the animal into pieces and then pick up the emurim, but rather the emurim have to come taka from the whole cow, or from the whole animal. Amama, nema kan truma, v'nema betrumas meiser truma. In the drasha, we had asked, where do we know that you need 10 esroinim, or 1 out of 10? So we said we learned what was the percentage. So we said we learned it out from Trumas Meiser, that Trumas Meiser is 1 out of 10. So to the Truma over here that you give to the kohen is also 1 out of 10. It's affecting more v'neilef mi Trumas Midjan. Why are we picking Trumas Meiser? Before we said maybe it should be Trumas Meiser, or maybe it should be Bikurim. We're saying a different option. Maybe we should learn it from Trumas Midjan, when the Yidden captured booty in their war against Midjan. It was divided up, I think, between the people who went to Milchama and the rest of Klal Yisrael. But then they took 1/500th and they gave it to Elazar HaKohen. The Gemara is asking who's the Kohen Gadol. Why don't we? Maybe we should do that percentage. Maybe it should take 1/500th, like we call that truma. Why don't we say that over here the truma that goes to the Kohen from the Taida is also 1/500th instead of 1/10? That's a one-time thing. It's more likely that we're learning out the Taida from something that is ongoing as opposed to a one-time truma. Let's learn that from Trumas Chala, which depending on whether you're taking from a Balabayas or from a Nachtaim, it will be 1/24th or 1/48th, but not a 10th. And Rabbi Shmuel, Don and Dava Shenema by Mimenu Trumas Hashem, Midava Shenema Trumas Lashem. Lafuke Trumas Chal, Dolenem by Mimenu Trumas Lashem. Both of them have the Lashem Mimenu Trumas Lashem, as opposed to Chal doesn't have the word Mimenu, and that's part of the drasha. Boy Rab Trumas Lachmei Toida, Chayav and Alein Misa v'Chaybish, Ein Chayav Alein Misa v'Chaybish. This truma that you give to the kohen from the Taida, the 1/10 that you give to the kohen, is that like a regular trumas meiser that there's a din if a Yisrael eats from the trumas meiser that's supposed to go to a kohen, he's chayiv misa b'dei shemayim and he has to pay a chaymish. Is that going to also be learned from the trumas meiser that we're learning a 10th? Maybe we also learn the misa b'dei shemayim and the chaymish. But no more kivadishul trumas meiser dami. Idilma boy v'chamishisai miat rachmana. Idilma boy v'chamishisai miat rachmana. Since the Torah says by Trumas Meiser, the Shamush Mishrati v'Yisrael of Chet u'Mesubat. That's what we learn. The din of Misa b'dei Shamayim for someone who takes Trumas Meiser, because Zohar takes Trumas Meiser. So boy tells you that you get this. Boy is telling you only by Trumas Meiser is the chi of Misa b'dei Shamayim. But Chamishi Soy, it's Chaimish. That also the Chaimish also only applies to Trumas Meiser and not to the Meiser from Toida. So that's one question. The second question, Midamas or Yena Midamas. There's a rule that Truma does not become Trumas Meiser, and Truma does not become bottle Baroiv, it only becomes bottle 1 in 100. Do we have the same din by that the Truma of Taida does also not become bottle? The Gemara Teku, it's not clear to what extent the Trumas Taida is learned out. Does it come with all of the rules of the Trumas Meiser or not? Leave it as a take. Amar Ma. Tamad Loima Tihiana. We had learned from the word, we had asked, how do you know it's 1 out of 10? I'm sorry. We said it was a different thing. It was Tiana. Yeah.
Yeah, so
we said maybe, right? We said for the word Tiana, maybe you learn out that you have to have a total of 2 esroinim for the Toida from the Shtei Halechem. But not that you have 1 Isaron. We said what was the percentage? And we said 1 Isaron learning from Shtei Halechem, where it's 1 Isaron for each Chala. So yes, maybe it means that you just have a total of 2 esroinim like the Shtei Halechem. So we said Tiana tells you that has to be 10 esroinim. So we're asked, how do you see from Tiana that has to be 10 esroinim and not the 2 esroinim like Shtei Halechem? My Talmud. Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi, Tiana Ksev with the 2 yuds, and Rashi says, betray yud, the chad yud yisera. So 1 is extra to tell you it has to be 10 esroinim. Ema asara kapizi. When it says, okay, it says 10, but maybe it means 10 small amounts. How do we know it means 10 esroinim? Amarava, besroinis dibira kasav lamanu. The Torah is talking about esroinis, so we're not starting with another measure. The Torah says the Shtei Halechem, 2 esroinim, so we're not going to start saying it means 10 of something else. It means 10 of the esroinim that we're talking about by the Shtei Halechem. Lamanu asar l'chametz, asar l'matzah minayin. The Gemara had asked, the Bryce had asked, we know, so that we learned out first the 10 for the chametz. How do we know that there's a total of 10 esroinim for the matzah? So we learned it out, the matzah from the chametz. Tamaloi ma'chalis lechem matzah, chametz. The Torah says on the chalis of matzah, you add the lechem chametz. Keneged chametz, have matzah. Just like the chametz should be the matzah. In fact, the Gemara v'kidavar alom v'hekesh chayzu v'melamed v'hekesh. We had learned out. We had said, how do you know by chametz that it has 10? And we said we learned it out from Shtei Halechem. So how could you then go and take a hekesh and go and relearn it? So Gemara, this is not a pure hekesh, because we had also learned it out from Gzeir Shava. Right? We said Gzeir Shava mimenu meiser. I think it was, what was it? Trumas meiser mimenu truma Gzeir Shava. So we learn out from Trumas meiser as Gzeir Shava. Gzeir Shava is a stronger limud than a hekesh. So a hekesh, something that's learned from a hekesh, you can't go and learn out from hekesh. So although we're using the Gzeir Shava to tell you where the hekesh should go, but since it's a combination of a hekesh with a Gzeir Shava is a stronger limud than a hekesh, so you can go and learn something that's partially learned out from a hekesh, as long as part of it is heimenu, it has a stronger basis. Heimenu really means from it itself, but a Gzeir Shava is as if it said it by itself. So this is all good according to Man Amar, who says it doesn't get the status of a hekesh that you're not allowed to learn out from it. But according to the Man Amar, it's still a hekesh, and you still can't learn out another hekesh from it. What do you say? He says that in the end we learn it out from the word taviu, like we said in the Brisa. That's a ribuy, and we learn out from the ribuy. It's not really learned out from the hekesh. In the end, we switch it. we're not saying because of Ribuya we know how to learn the Hekesh, but rather we're learning out directly from Ribuya, and there's no Hekesh here at all anymore. So the Mishnah. Hamiluyim hayabayin kematza shebetoida. Chalas, Rikikin, Uravucha. The Miluim. We're coming up to the Miluim. We're in the Miluim now, right? We don't say Tachton now because of the Miluim. Right? We learned this just the first 8 days of Miluim, and then there's another, right? There's a celebration with the Miluim. We also said it's because when they were able to win in their battle about how to teach something with the Tzedukim, with the Baisusim. The next 8 days, yeah. I think, yeah. So in any case, but the Miluim were when they brought special karbanos. They brought similar karbanos, the carbon together with chalas, and the procedure for that was they came like the matzah of the taida, chala rakikan uravucha. It has the 30 matzahs of the taida. That's what they brought together with the Miluim. The Nisim brought with their Miluim. Naziris haisabash deyadis kamatzah shel taida. The Naziris came with 2/3 of the matzah of the taida. Chalas or rakikin. There are 3 parts of a taida of the matzah, right? There are really 4 parts, but we're leaving out the chametz part. So that leaves over the 3 matzahs. The 3 matzahs are chalas, rakikin, and revucha. So the Miluyim had all 3. The Naziris has 2 out of the 3. Shtei yadas. Chalas or rakikin. The chalas or rakikin. Ve'ein bar revucha, but it doesn't have the revucha. Nimtza asara kavan Yerushalmiyos. We said there were 15 kavan Yerushalmiyos for the which was the 10 esroinim of the matzahs, but there it's only 2/3, so it only has 2/3 of the kavan, which is 10. Shein shisha esroinim v'udjin, which is 6 1/3 and 2/3 esroinim. Right, so you reduce the size of the flour according to the amount of challah. Since it's only 20 out of 30, it's only 2/3. Where does it come from? The first part. The Miloyim came. Kamatz Shabatoida. Amar Chiz Amar Rav Chama Bar Gurya. The Amar Kra. Misal Amatzis Hashem Lefnei Hashem. Laka Chalas Matzah Achas. V'Chalas Lech Hashem and Achas. Rekich Echad. The Torah says, in describing the Miloyim, that they take Chalas Matzah Achas, 1 Chalas Matzah, V'Chalas Lechem Shemen Achas, and 1 Chalas Lechem Shemen. That's the Revuka. Rekich Echad, and 1 Rekikin. Bishlam Chalas, Rakik Rak. So the Chalas and Rakikin are self-explanatory. They're the same as the Chalas and the Rakikin of the Taida. Shemen Mainu. What is the Chalas Lechem Shemen? What is that? Lav Revucha. Is that not a Revucha? That's a Revucha, something that's has extra oil in it, extra oily, extra fried up pancakes or wafers. Maskefla Rav Avia Ema Ansa de Mashka. Maybe it's not, doesn't refer to a challah, a bread with extra oil, but it means oil itself. The way the Rashi Saviyat says is Ansa de Mashka Uga Shel Shemen Karish. Maybe it's a cake of oil that is congealed, of congealed oil. You make like a solid thing of oil. That's what we're talking about. So the lashon of chalas lechem shemen is not this positive. Ela kedidar shonachem barav chizda mishmeder of tavla zer carbon aben above hashekiv Hashem biyam himashach oisei. The Torah says this is the carbon of Aaron and of his sons that they can bring to Hashem on the day that Aaron was appointed. It says ubana. And it says b'yem himashkai, which is talking about the anointment that's to the Kohen Gadol. So what is the relevance of the sons of Aaron to the appointment of the Kohen Gadol? It's telling you that when a Kohen gets a Mashiach, a Chinuch, which is similar to the Miluyim when there was a Chinuch, it's similar to the Mashiach when we appoint a Kohen Gadol. Ma'im Shachai Revucha, when he gets a Mashiach, he has to bring Chavitim. And the Chavitim, we know, includes revucha. Afchinucha revucha. So too, when a kohen is appointed, when he starts his term, he brings a revucha, just like the chavitin of the kohen gadol. And when Luim was started, that was similar to the chinuch of a new kohen. It was the chinuch of the entire Avaida. So they also bring Revuka. Amar of Chizda, kohen gadol hamiskarav la'Avaida. Kohen gadol who's starting his term as he's going to start doing his Avaida as a kohen gadol. Sarach shtei esroinim sa'efa. He needs 2 esroinim. Achas lehimashchai. One, because he was Mashuach as a Kohen Gadol, so now he has to bring Chavitin, he has to bring an Isaran, divided in 2 for the Chavitin. And now he's a new Kohen Gadol, so he needs as a Chinuch, just like every Kohen, when he gets appointed, when he starts his Avodah, needs to bring a Isaran of Chalas, he has to bring the same thing. Ma'bar Ravashi Amar Sholish, he says 3. They're not arguing. He says 3 in a specific case. Very strange case. If he says that it's a Kohen Gadol who's getting appointed as Kohen Gadol, but he had never done Avodah as a Kohen Hedjit. So he has to bring, like we just said, the chinuch of as a Kohen. And he has to bring another one as a chinuch as a Kohen Gadol. And he also has to bring his Chavitin as a Kohen Gadol. So that's why we got to 3. The Mishnah continued and said on Nazirus that he brings 2 out of the 3. He doesn't bring the Revucha. Nazirus Haisabah Shtei Yadas Gematzah Shebetoida Tanu Rabban Shlom of L'Rabba Shalmi Nazir Laseres Kabin Yerushalmius L'Rvias Shemen. We learn out Shlomov that it says by the Toida. Zois Torah Zevach Hashem Asher Yaakov Hashem Imal Toida Yakivanu. And it says, Ruvacha the end of the pasuk says his shlomo. The Rabbi Shalmi Nazir. What does it have to say shlomo? We already said it to shlomo. He's coming to tell you Shalmi Nazir laseres carbon Yerushalmiyus that it has to bring 10 carbon Yerushalmiyus l'rvius shemen and a quarter of a lug of shemen. Yachal l'chol mashem ba'avinyan. Gemara, we just said the Nazir says 2/3. What do you mean? Maybe it should be all the things. It should also include the revucha. Tamalan and matzahs. The Torah says, "The Psalm matzah selis chaz belu b'shem rekika matzah v'shuchim b'shemen l'chasan eskeim." My Talmuda. How does matzahs tell you to exclude the revucha? Or a papa davash nema by matzahs lafuka revucha. The loy nema by matzahs. It says that something that says matzahs that exclude the revucha, that it doesn't use the word lashon matzahs. It's called chalish shem. The Rebbe Shmuel Tana matzahs klal chalish urkikim prat. It says matzahs as a klal. He says a different drasha. It says matzahs as a klal. Chalish urkikim is a prat. It says bedafka chalish urkikim. It doesn't say the revucha. Klal prat ein b'klal masher prat. Chalish urkikim midei achmini loy. Only the chalish and urkikim, but not the revucha. Okay, we'll stop over here, and as Hashem, I think from now on I am going to be till after Yom Tov.